Welcome back to the line change. In this particular video, we're going to be talking about Rick Tocchet and the Vancouver Canucks. And we're going to be going over an article on Canucks Army that talks about his contract extension and where the Canucks and Rick Tocchet are at when it comes to a contract extension. Now, before I show you guys this article, there have been, rumors going around that he supposedly rejected a contract extension from the Vancouver Canucks. From having pre-read this article, I don't see anywhere in there that definitively says he rejected an offer. We've all heard Rick Tocchet, when asked about a contract, that he's not, talking about it right now. He wants to focus on the team and the games that they have left. Obviously, that stance might change a week from now, or it could even change when the Canucks are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Then the team might start talking to him about it. But we're going to go over this article. I'm going to share the article on the screen. I'll also leave a link to the article in the description down below so you guys can read along if you choose to do so. So let's go ahead and dive right into this article. So here we go. So the article is titled Friedman on Tocchet and Canucks. It's going to be a bigger number than they've paid a coach in quite some time. So obviously referring to how much it's going to cost the Canucks to re-sign Rick Tocchet. People have said that there's probably not a likely chance that the Canucks will do a 1-year extension. Rick Tocchet is probably going to want something with term and more than just a 1-year deal. But let's go ahead and dive right into it. It's by Tyler Kuhl from Canucks Army. This article is from late last night. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. While the Vancouver Canucks are still battling for their playoff lives, the looming cloud of the future of a certain member of the coaching staff is hovering over the team. On Monday's edition of 32 Thoughts, the podcast, Sportsnet's Elliotte Friedman brought up Canucks head coach Rick Tocchet and his future with the organization after what has been a tumultuous season. Friedman believes the Canucks have already offered Tocchet a new deal, though he didn't give any specifics. And then this goes on to quote Elliotte Friedman. Obviously, that offer didn't get it done. Friedman said, I don't know how soon he's going to want to talk about it, but eventually it's going to get to a point where they all have to decide when do they want to sit down and talk about this. I think this is just a bigger conversation than just Tocchet. Does Tocchet want to stay? Friedman mentioned the fact that the Canucks do have the option to pick up Tocchet's contract for the 25-26 season, but states that neither side would want to go through another year. They aren't going to be on the same page about the future of the team. After an exciting 23-24 season where the team was one win away from the Western Conference Final, debilitating injuries, off-ice drama, and bumpy play has led to the Canucks struggling to stay in the playoff picture this season. Regardless of how things end up, Friedman believes that if Vancouver wants to keep Tocchet at his post, it's going to cost them a pretty penny. Goes on to quote Elliotte Friedman once again. It comes down to do you get a new deal or not? Some of that is going to be term and finances. If they want to extend Tocchet, it's going to go into a bigger number than they've paid a coach in quite some time. Tocchet has previously been asked about his contract situation, but confirmed that he doesn't have plans to talk about any negotiations during the season. Friedman states that while the odds might be stacked against the Canucks of getting back into the Stanley Cup playoffs, Tocchet seems to be sticking by his guns in the final weeks of the regular season. Goes on to quote Rick Tocchet, Elliotte Friedman once again. I just don't know when they're going to sit down and discuss it. because even though the math is not good, I'm not sure that Tocchet is going to want to do it while there's still a chance. I guess that's what an agent's for. Goes on to say the Canucks, 34, 27, and 13, are fourth in the Pacific Division, 6 points back of the St. Louis Blues for the last wildcard spot in the Western Conference. So that's the article. Let's just go back. There we go. So yeah, nowhere there in that article did I see a definitive, he rejected a contract extension. It does say that, according to Elliot Friedman, the Canucks have an offer on the table for Rick Tocchet, but he's sticking to his guns, and he's not going to negotiate or accept any contract until the season is over. And you can't blame Rick Tocchet for that. He's focused on the team and, trying to get this team into the playoffs. Obviously, we all know, the Canucks' chances are dwindling away with each loss that they've had the last couple games. Obviously, their playoff hopes are literally hanging by a string, by a thread. And we mentioned in our previous video, talking about the NHL standings, that basically the Canucks need to go 7-1 in their last 8 games, which is not going to be easy. We all know they have Vegas coming up twice. They play Vegas twice in the next 8 games. They play Dallas. They play Seattle tomorrow. They also play Anaheim on Saturday. And they also have, I can't remember who else off the top of my head, but I do know they play Vegas twice. One of those games against Vegas is a back-to-back. So they play the Ducks Saturday at home, and then they play Vegas on Sunday. So that's a back-to-back they have. So that's going to be tough, facing a Vegas team who's been hot on the tail end of a back-to-back. And we all know the Canucks have not done well in the second games of back-to-backs, or just back-to-backs in general this season. So that's going to be extremely tough. So essentially, the Canucks can only afford one more loss in their next 8 games. And concerning who they're facing, that's not going to be easy, as I keep mentioning. It's going to be extremely tough for them to do, considering how this season has gone. But it's very interesting to hear that Canucks are going to have to pay up if they want to keep Rick Tocchet. Now, I did post that video talking about the firing of John Tortorella and the fact that there is now a vacant coaching position available in Philadelphia. I mentioned in that video, I don't think Rick Tocchet is going to go to the Flyers. I don't really see the appeal, despite his history with the organization. Things are a lot more rough over in Philly than they are here. The Flyers ended up trading Scott Laughton away. They traded Kuzmenko away. They have Couturier. They have Konechny still there. Yes, they have Matvei Michkov, who is a bright star. But it makes you really think. Now, Michkov struggled with Tortorella. They didn't really mesh. And everyone knows the history between Rick Tocchet and Andrei Kuzmenko. Now, Michkov, I would say, is a lot like Kuzmenko. And it makes you wonder, if Tocchet were to go to the Flyers, what would that do for Michkov? Would he struggle underneath Tocchet much like Kuzmenko did with the Canucks? So you would have to think the Flyers would be thinking about that, because they see Michkov as their future star. And I've noticed in the games since Tortorella was fired, Michkov has exploded. So it makes you wonder if Tortorella maybe, I don't want to say it was too hard on Michkov, but maybe his coaching style wasn't for Michkov. But yeah, that's one thing. I still don't think Tocchet goes to the Flyers, as I mentioned. I do deep down think that he resigns with Vancouver. I feel as though he loves it here, despite how bad this season's been and everything he's dealt with. But he's dealt with it with class. I feel as though, most coaches probably would be pulling their hair out, after how the season has gone. But one, Tocchet doesn't have any hair, so he doesn't really have anything to pull out. Sorry, that's my little attempt at humor there. He knows Alvin and Rutherford. He's got a good relationship with them. Obviously, he's assembled quite the coaching staff here in Vancouver with Adam Foote, Sergei Gonchar. But yeah, deep down, I think Rick Tocchet resigns, but I do think it's going to cost the Canucks a pretty penny, as like what Elliot Friedman says. They're going to have to pay him big. I mean, keep in mind, Rick Tocchet is now a Jack Adams winner, so he's going to have to be paid like one. They were able to get Tocchet at a discount when they initially brought him in. Now he's going to have to get paid because he is quite possibly one of the best coaches this team has had in quite some time. I would say he's the best coach they've had dating back to Alain Vigneault when he was here. As I personally was a big fan of Vigneault when he was here. He helped this team get to the Stanley Cup Finals. So Vigneault is up there at the top of my list. And then obviously not far behind is Rick Tocchet. I think I mentioned in a previous video when Tocchet first came in, I was unsure of him. But since then, he's won me over. Yes, I don't like his dump and chase hockey style or that type of coaching. I absolutely cannot stand the whole dump and chase thing. But this team has gotten a lot better defensively under Tocchet, and he's really held these players accountable for things. And I think he can do a lot of great things for this team years to come, especially with the right lineup of players. But that's going to do it for this video in particular. So apparently Canucks have made an offer to Rick Tocchet. He hasn't accepted the offer yet. Obviously, as I mentioned, he wants to see the season through before he negotiates or talks. Now, we don't know the details of what the Canucks have offered him. So, not even Elliot Friedman might know the details, but he's not, letting people know. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. As always, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Become a Patreon member and get exclusive perks. Link to that is in the video description. Join our Discord. Be a part of the conversation. The link for that is also in the description down below. You can find us on social media at The Line Change on Instagram, at Line Change Fan on X. You can find our Facebook page, The Line Change. Also, you can find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. And I'll see you guys in the next video.